of all the points that you just made, there's one in particular that I think is really important. And I think you have an interesting perspective on, which is the digital age component. I'm really excited to watch Gen Z specifically coming into the education landscape and starting to build companies and build alternatives to just sort of the status quo way of doing things. Because I think it's really easy to underestimate what a difference in paradigm growing up with the internet causes. And I think everybody thinks they understand this and thinks they have a healthy level of appreciation for it. But I really think you have to you have to think at a very deep and foundational level, not just about learning the skills that you have to navigate a digital world, but about how the underlying premises of how the world even works and how information works and how learning and gathering information works is so fundamentally different. And I think, I grew up, you and I are of a fairly similar age. I grew up kind of with free access to the internet in a lot of ways. Like I grew up with YouTube and Google, like they were coming of age as I was. Yeah. And so I got to see what the world looked like before these things were completely universal. But by the time I was old enough to really use them, they pretty much were. And so I think that just sets such a foundational difference in the way that you think about what do I even need to learn? What do I even need to know? Like, I don't have to remember everything because there's a thing in my pocket that I can use to find any answer that I want in like 3 seconds. But at the same time, I have to have a different set of skills around vetting information, sorting information, sifting through, well, how do I phrase this question in a way that actually brings me to the answer that I want? It's such a difference in the fundamental skill set that kids need to have. And I think there's so much about the legacy system that just doesn't make any sense anymore. And so people who've grown up with the internet taking a stab at helping to educate other kids on how to use it, but also like rethinking what the systems are that we even need to have in place, if at all, makes me very excited about the types of conversations that we can have, because I think the contours of the conversation altogether are going to be different. And I think I have pretty radical opinions on this. I'm like, well, like the whole education system kind of became obsolete the minute the internet went online because everything is different now.
Yeah.
But I think the contours of the conversation that we can have are so different when you're bringing that perspective to the table. And I feel like you are such a product of the internet age too. You're building this whole remote company. Like you've done so much through the internet. Like it's just second nature for you. And I feel like that probably really colors how you're thinking about what you want to build.
100%. There's like so many of aspects of that I can respond to. And Einstein is pre-internet, but Einstein said never memorize anything which you can look up. And that's even before Google was around. And one aspect that's unique about the unlimited access to information is that part of a traditional school setting, there can feel pressure for teachers to have to know the answer for everything. And I was actually teaching a workshop about how to use AI and AI in education to parents and high schoolers last week. And one of them asked me a question I didn't know the answer to. And I almost instinctually said, like, because I was getting a lot of questions, which is great, I almost instinctually said, like, we won't have time for that. Let's move back. And I was like, oh my God, I just did that teacher thing. Remember when you were little and you asked the question, they said they don't know time for that. And I was like, did they say that because they didn't know the answer? Or we actually didn't have time for that. And I said, you know what? Actually, that's not true. I said we don't have time for that because I don't know the answer and it would have to take me a little more time to think. But let's all pull out ChatGPT and ask it. So I literally screen shared. I showed it the question I asked, which was a little bit more fleshed out than the question the student had asked me. But I was like, I don't have to stand up here and act like I know everything. I don't. No one knows everything. But I can show them that I'm industrious and I'm curious. I know how to find the answer. And that's something we tell our mentors too. Like, you don't have to know everything, but when you have to do that Google search, screen share. Like, show your kid what you search. Show them that they don't have to know the answer, but they can figure it out. And that's what I hope our learning can be. Like, it does not have to be absorb and regurgitate. It can be, we all know you can have access to unlimited information. Some of you are going to be savvier or more industrious in accessing the right information or figuring it out. But that think about how much time we can spend focusing on how to think about things or how to solve problems, or once you find that piece of information, what to do with it or what to do next. I am very excited. And of course, we haven't talked about AI specifically, but even more, I always think that a lot of students conflate good writing with fancy words. That's my big thing. I'm always like, what are you trying to say? And they try to sound all fancy. And I'm like, okay, I'm your friend. We're at a coffee shop. Just like, tell me your idea. And that either comes down to reveal they have no idea what they're talking about. They don't know what the teacher's asking or what the book's about. Or two is they actually know and they can say in simple words, but they're so stressed, they're so crippled by it needs to sound fancy and right that they just were saying it so jumbled. And I think that like with technology like AI, how cool if students can have a course, especially in the like earlier when they're building that foundation, that's focused on communication. And in this class, you're just focused on how to communicate. So you distill the two, because I think kids so often conflate it, and you focus on how do I public speaking, how to write good emails, how to share your ideas. And you can use AI for the substance itself, but you're really focused on the mechanics of it, of how to convey language, words, ideas effectively. And then there's another class where it's like, you can use AI to help tweak up the sentence or make it sound more polished, but I'm going to be assessing you on the creativity of your ideas, the independence of your thinking. And so I'll know if you guys are Googling the answer, because it's going to be the same as the peer sitting next to you. Like there's that kind of, and that's just one. It's so many ways I've been envisioning like what a education model that embraces AI can look like. But if you think of that, that just raises the bar. We can empower kids to develop these skill sets at a much higher level and actually understanding what they're being assessed upon or what skill set they're trying to gain. Because that's where I see a breakdown a lot, where I'll be working with a kid and they don't even know why the teacher's asking that question or the why of it all. And so I think that these tools and technology can just allow us, it's nothing crazy or revolutionary. It's honestly the most like Aristotle, most classic early day Plato type education one-to-one model, but it's now possible at scale with technology, and we can just raise the bar for what kids can learn and how to empower them to thrive in this world.